before this video begins, I just want to say that in no way, shape, or form am I glorifying domestic violence or trying to glamorize it or anything. You might think that because of the jewelry I'm wearing, but we'll get to that when the video starts. Okay, like, I'm not trying to be like domestic violence is a bad thing, but like, that's not what I'm trying to do. I actually have been in a few abusive relationships, mentally, emotionally, spiritually even. And in freshman year, I was being physically abused for a short amount of time. And it wasn't like, punching me and stuff, but he did slap me and he grabbed my wrist really tight and to the point where it hurt. And then when I said it hurt, he kept twisting it to make it hurt even more. I don't really like to talk about that, but so just to let you know that I've been there, and this role play is probably going to be controversial, but I just want to let you know that I'm making this video not just to help me recover from the mental trauma that I've been through in the past, but also to anybody who is in an abusive relationship but doesn't know it yet, or just because remember, domestic violence doesn't have to be physical. It could be other stuff, it could be mental, emotional, sexual, spiritual, stuff like that. So this video is also to kind of give you some tips and some signs to watch out for if you think you might be in one but you're not sure. It could also be for people who know that they're in a domestic violence relationship but wants confirmation that they're not alone. It could also be for people who are being abused but doesn't know a way out. It could be, people who have been through an abusive relationship and just want some, closure in a way. By the way, if you have been through that or you are going through it, I'm so sorry. And I will also include some hotlines that you can call or some websites that you can visit. Because there is a safe way out, you guys. There is a safe way out. You don't have to continue living like this. I'm gonna cry. There is a way out. You don't have to continue living through this vicious cycle. You don't have to keep getting hit every day. You don't have to keep getting put down every day. Just call the hotline in the description below. Go to the websites. Don't be afraid to do it. The guy has to sleep sometime. The girl has to sleep sometime. Whoever is abusing you. And if there is a man being abused by a girl, I just want to let you know that it's not in your head, okay? You don't have to be a man about it. You don't have to control your girl or whatever. It's a very serious thing and it happens to everybody. It's not just men. It's not just women. It's also men. Women can be abused by other women. Men can be abused by other men. Women can be abused by men. And men can be abused by women. Unfortunately, abuse knows no gender. So, just want to let you know that it's okay to cry and it's okay to not be okay. So there are hotlines that you can call as well, and websites that you can visit as well. And if you're scared to call them or go through the website, just remember they have to sleep sometime. And the only reason why I said the guy has to sleep sometime is because that's what my grandma told me, and I was just quoting my grandmother. And yeah, so I'm not a sexist asshole, and I'm sorry. But I also want to let you know that if you might get triggered by this video, because I need to warn you, the girl does talk about her abusive relationship and how she died. The girl's a ghost, by the way, in case you didn't know. And I would recommend that if that would bother you, that you turn it off, or click away, or a different video, and so this is your chance to click away. I'm just kind of letting you know what's ahead of you, and I have seriously considered this role play because I knew that it would trigger some people. So I just was like, you know what, I'll give a warning, because if I was a viewer and I was sensitive to this kind of stuff, which I am, by the way, I would want a warning. You know, I would be pretty mad if a YouTuber didn't warn me. So I was just having empathy and putting myself in your shoes. So without further ado, let's begin the roleplay. Hello. Hey, no, shh. I'm dead, but I'm not a bad ghost. I'm not evil. Did you come to see if the legends were true? To see if the folklore that you've been reading about this house is true? Well, it is. So, if you want to snap a picture or something, you can. I'll actually sit really still and let you take it. Well, if you want to stay and hear a story, and hear the story of the house, I could definitely tell you. What this? My necklace? And my ring? My bracelet that matches? Thank you. It was from my mother. I think it would do you some good to hear my story. You don't have to if you don't want to. Thank you. First, I just wanted to say thank you for visiting my house. And second of all, I just wanted to say that this story, I want you to think about it. It all started when my dad met a nice man at the coal factory in which he used to work. And this man was talking about how he wanted to become a doctor, and my dad thought that he would be a good man for me. I said no, because I didn't believe in marriage, and I didn't want to settle down because I had plans. I wanted to be a lawyer. Yeah. But you see, at the time, girls weren't allowed to have those kinds of jobs. I was supposed to be a stay-at-home mom and cook and clean, but I didn't want that for myself. I wanted to make something out of my life. But my dad said no, and that I had no choice but to dress nice and meet him for dinner. So that was that. I had no say in the matter because I was 17. I was 17, and my family had dinner, and they all dressed in their best clothes, and we met the man. At this point, I'm going to stop calling him the man, because he was no man. He was a monster. So the monster sat down at the table and was talking about how their daughter was so beautiful and so pretty, and that he wanted to take me away with him. And my family was like, yeah, yes, of course, she would love you. But I didn't want to go with him. Something just told me that he wasn't a good man. I me wanting to rebel against my father, or just coincidence, or if he was just giving me a bad vibe. But either way, I did not want to go with him. But my family was relentless and told me that after school I was to come home and change into some nice clothing and sit on the couch with my suitcase. I cried all through the day at school. I cried on the way home from school. And I cried the night before. My face hurt from the weeping that I did. But my mom and dad just told me that this is what happens in a woman's life. This is what happens when you get so beautiful, and that I should have been grateful that this man chose me instead of other people, instead of my best friend or my sister or something like that, or somebody else like that. And they were so mean to me about telling me about how I was ungrateful and unappreciative of the nice things set in front of me. But you see, I didn't care about my family's money. I didn't really care. In fact, I preferred the other stuff. Like, I didn't really care for these types of things. I just wear it out of respect for my mother. But alas, I was forced out of the house, and I was made to go with him. I put up a fight. He had to carry me out of the house. And on the ride there, he didn't stop talking to me about the things he liked to do, and trying to convince me that he was a good man for me. And I started to believe him. At first, I loved being with him, and I loved him with all my heart. We talked about how when I turn 18, we would get married, and how we would have a bunch of kids, little boys, little girls. He wanted a boy, I wanted a girl, but he told me that he would love the baby no matter what gender it was. Well, we got married, and things dramatically started to change. He would no longer let me go out with my friends. He asked me if I still wanted to be a lawyer, and I said yes. And then he laughed at me and told me that women aren't supposed to have such ideas and such ambitions. And he would always tell me that when he gets home from work, I'd better be in the kitchen where I belong. And every time I tried to object, he would respond soundly with a slap across my face. And every time I would cry and tell him, no, please don't hurt me. But he would just keep going, and the more I seemed to beg him to stop, the more it would empower him to keep going. So eventually I learned to just curl up in a ball and cry and let it happen. And one day, I got pregnant. I found out I was pregnant, and I told him, and I was hoping that it would make him stop hurting me and make him stop kicking me in the stomach. I thought that if I reminded him how much we wanted a family, that he wouldn't hurt me anymore, and he wouldn't do it in front of our kids and stuff like that. And just, I didn't care what he did as long as he didn't do it in front of the children. Well, 9 months quickly passed, and I gave birth to a little girl. I named her Rose. She was so beautiful. She had my eyes, her dad's hair, my nose, his mouth, soon as she was born, he had no reason to not hurt me anymore. And the beatings actually seemed to get worse. And after he would beat me, he would go right to Rose. And I would tell him, no, please, don't hurt her. She didn't do anything wrong, don't hurt her. He would tell me to shut up or else he'd beat me again. I feel like such a terrible mother. I just didn't want to die and not provide for my daughter. So I didn't say anything. He didn't beat her as dramatically as he did to me. He would just flick her on the ear and she'd ask him, what did I do wrong, Daddy? And he wouldn't answer her. When Rose turned 9, she grew resentment for her father. And I did too, so I didn't blame her. Well, finally, the monster decided that he wanted to take us out to a club, hence the dress and the jewelry. This was the night that I died. He decided that he wanted to go out, and he told me that I needed to get dressed in our nice clothes, and we would take Ruth to her grandparents' house. And I said okay, because at that point, if I tried to argue with him or say something other than yes sir, he'd hit me. So I just did as I was told, and I got dressed and I put my makeup on and my jewelry. And while he was getting ready in the bathroom, I packed a bag. I was so determined that I would wait until after the party. He'd go to sleep and I'd pack up and I'd move to my parents' house. And I would be a mother to my daughter without him, convincing her that she did something wrong when she didn't. But unfortunately, he caught me packing my bag and he asked me, what are you doing? And I told him, I was like, I got my courage and I got my bravery. I'm glad I died with dignity. I told him, I'm leaving you. I'm taking Ruth with me and I'm leaving you. What he didn't know was that I was pregnant. I was pregnant with another child. What happened was, I was planning on telling him on a different day. Another reason why I decided to leave is because I didn't want this for my child. So he was getting ready to hit me and I said, no, don't hurt me, I'm pregnant. And he didn't care. He beat me extremely hard. It was the worst one. And he told me that we were going to the party still. So I had to put makeup on over my bruise. And I had to go and act like I wasn't scared. My friend offered me to let her stay at her house. And I said no, because I was scared of what he would do. I really wish I would have accepted her offer, because I no longer have that choice. We came home at 3 a.m. Ruth was still at her grandma and grandpa's house. And when I wasn't looking, he took a pan and hit me really hard across the head. And I passed out. And he continued to do unspeakable things to me. And he continued to beat me until eventually I died. And that little baby in my tummy with me also died. And what's sad is I can still hear my baby crying, but I can't find it. I can't find them. They just keep crying, and I keep saying, Mommy's coming to find you. But it seems like they don't hear me, and I'm stuck with the thought of what would have happened if I had told my friend, yeah, I'll go with you. Sometimes I can leave the house, but only temporarily, and I can see how my daughter is doing. She's so beautiful. She looks like me. She is currently the same age I was when I met the monster. And her grandmother and grandfather do not have a say in who she decides to see. And she actually is not interested in guys. And while this was not okay in my era, I'm okay with it. I love her, and I support her. Even though I'm not able to react with her, and I'm not able to hug her, or kiss her, or tell her how much I love her, and how much I'm sorry, and how sorry I am for leaving her. I know that she loves me. She talks about me every chance she gets. I think one thing did work out for me that night. I'm glad she was with her grandparents and not at home. Yes, well, these are old wounds, dear. And something good did come out of it. Because the monster, as soon as he realized what he had done, he decided to throw me into a box and throw me in the river. But somebody caught him throwing a box in the river, and they asked him what he was doing. And he said that he was throwing away some old belongings or whatever. But the guy called the police, and the police took him away because they saw my hand coming out of the box. So if it wasn't for that dude, for that man, I wouldn't be avenged. He did go to jail, and he took the cowardly way out. He didn't regret what he did. They took him in the confessional room, and they said it was because I pissed him off. What kind? All I did was try to save myself. Before you leave my house, I want to tell you that there is a way out. You don't have to leave it like I did. There is a way for you to leave before it gets severe. Don't ever let anybody try to take your self-respect away. Don't let anybody tell you who you are as a person. Only you can determine that. You understand? You seem kind. Stay that way. And if your parents decide who you can see, but you don't like them, you don't have to follow their advice. There are other places you can go. And there are shelters for my kind of situation. I could have gone to them. I was just too scared. But you don't have to be scared. And I know that's easier said than done. But it's true. You don't have to be scared. You have to find your voice. It's in there. And remember that they have to sleep sometime. You don't have to stay. There are ways out. If I had left sooner, I wouldn't have to hear my baby crying every night at the same time that I died. if I decided to leave sooner, Rose might still know who her mother is. I might have been able to hug her when her grandfather passed away, instead of just listen to her cry until she cried herself to sleep. I have the power to see whatever I want to see, but sometimes I can't shut it off. Why am I still here? Honestly, I think it might be because they never found the box that he threw into the river. Well, they saw, the guy saw him throw the box into the river, but they couldn't find the box. Like, he had already thrown it into the river, and the guy didn't want to piss off the monster, so he just said, "Oh, okay," and then he reported it to the police. Yeah. So, I think it's because I didn't have a proper burial. Maybe it's because not everybody knows what happened. My family blamed it on too much wine. I tried telling them about the situation, I really did. And their same lame excuse was that we're both adjusting and that it's gonna take some time. Never let anyone treat you any less than you deserve. And honey, you deserve the world and all the stars in the sky. Don't let anybody tell you that you're not. Thank you for visiting my house and for hearing the truth on what really happened to me. You must go and tell people what happened to me. They might think you're crazy, they might think you're a little nuts, but just tell them what really happened to me. Spread the word. Spread the word that isn't love. It's control and manipulation. It's not love. And that you don't have to stay like that. If they tell you that they love you, or that they're sorry, complete with some flowers, or maybe even a ring, or something like that, don't believe it. That's just another ploy for you to stay in their mind games. And I know, because after every beating, he would tell me the same thing. I'm sorry, baby. I'm sorry I lost my temper. I love you. You just really pissed me off. Don't let anybody treat you like that. Feel free to visit me anytime. It gets lonely, and you seem kind. Thank you for taking the time to listen to my story. Thank you for watching this roleplay. For those of you that stayed with me, thank you. Thank you so much. Sorry. I had to pause it because I had to go over there and not cry. I broke character a couple times. But, I also hope you know that some of the stuff that was in that story was also a part of my abuse. As, you know, they would always tell me the same thing. I'm sorry, I love you, it'll never happen again. Maybe if you didn't piss me off, kind of thing. It's just like, that was making me think that it was my fault. But honey, I just want you to know that it's not your fault. You did nothing to deserve that. You did nothing for them to treat you this way. Don't let anybody treat you that way. please check out the hotline number that I have in the description below. Please check out those websites that are in the description below. And I love all of you. I love all of you. And if anybody is treating you that way, please give me their name, address, phone number, and their license plate number, the last 4 digits of their social security number, and I will fuck them up because you are amazing and you don't deserve that. And if you are a man going through that from either a man or a woman, you are strong and you deserve happiness just like everybody else. And the abuse that you're going through is real. Even if she doesn't hit you or anything like that, and if she just putting you down and telling you that you're a loser and that you're a low life and whatever, that's still abuse. And you're very strong, and I understand why it would be hard to come forward, because everybody expects you to be strong and the alpha male, and because that's what society has called you. But fuck society. You don't have to listen to society. You don't have to listen to society. You are your own person, and it's okay to need help. It's okay to cry. It's okay to not be so tough. It's okay. And I love you. I love you. Okay? And it's okay to come forward. If you come forward, then you break the silence, and then another person might come forward, and then another person might come forward. And that's amazing, and that's what I love about this world. So if you're a man and a woman is hitting you, and you don't want anybody to know because society wants you to be somebody else that you're not, fuck them. It's okay to come forward. It's okay to tell people what's going on with you. You're not a coward. Being a man doesn't have to be all like, hey, I'm a man. These aren't boobs, these are muscles. You don't have to be like that. Like, being a man could be coming forward. You know how brave it is to come forward and say that you're feeling a certain way, or that somebody is treating you a certain way? That's bravery. Being a man is being true to your emotions. Crying is manly. Crying is, it's a way, it's therapy. It's a way for you to not hold in your emotions. Crying is healthy. So if you are dealing with it in a healthy way, then that's manly. And I'm proud of you. And for the girls, I just want to say that you don't need to stay. This goes for anybody, really. You don't need to stay. The person has to sleep sometime. Leave while they're sleeping. Go to a shelter. Call your parents. Call somebody to pick you up. I love you guys. I love every single one of you. You guys are so strong.